Hello and welcome back to Ghost Encounters podcast. Tonight it's myself, Nick T, Marie and Faye. We've got a special guest tonight, a good friend of ours. It's Mark O'Donoghue. How are we, Mark? You alright?
I'm very well, thank you.
Mark is...
Come on, Marie.
a psychotherapist.
Yes.
That specialises
in hypnotherapy.
There we go. That's easy for you to say.
How are you doing, Mark?
Yeah, I'm doing very well.
So what really interests me and what you do is the past life regression stuff that you do, but I'm sure there's a bit that you need to go into before you explain that to us.
Tell us a bit about yourself, Mark, and how you started in it.
Yeah, well, with regards to the mind stuff, I started back in 1990. Started reading a lot of books on mindsets. And then in 1994, started training professionally as a hypnotherapist. And then it took me about 3 years to qualify. And then I started studying advanced hypnotherapy. And then in 1998, I trained with a guy called Steve Burgess, who trained and certified me in past life regression therapy.
Good.
So 25 years I've been
25 years, eh?
Yeah.
Just flies though, doesn't it?
It does.
So are you any good at it, or?
No, I'm still learning.
Still learning.
He remembers it like yesterday.
Yeah. So just what is past life regression to them that don't know? Like, well, me probably.
Yeah, well, past life obviously means a life previous to your current one. And regression, well, means backwards, so it's in words like rewind, reverse, and gress is a Latin word. So G-R-E-S-S, it basically means movement or to step. So regress is stepping backwards in your mind, which basically means recalling a memory.
Right, so that's what it says, you're recalling a memory that you had in the past, is that?
Well, if I asked you a question and asked you what was the first drink you had today, to give me that answer, you have to regress.
Right, okay.
You can't consciously answer me, so you're using a subconscious part of your mind.
Okay.
That's very interesting.
Yeah, that's good. And see, I still can't remember what I had.
So when we talk about past life regression, we're talking like about reincarnation. Is that what we're talking?
Well, there are different theories on what exactly is happening with past life regression. And past life regression is one of the mystical subjects within hypnosis. So basically, by mystical, I mean nobody's got a clue what's going on, what's happening with past lives. But there are three different theories. The main one is reincarnation, like you said, where a soul jumps from one body to another. So it uses that life up, and then when that body dies, the soul jumps into another body. And basically the soul which you've got now is housed in your subconscious, so it taps into the previous bodies them lives. Now, I quite disagree with the reincarnation theory with regards to past life regression, basically because if you hypnotise thousands of people, you guarantee you get about 3 or 4 that have regressed into Cleopatra or King Henry VIII. So how does that work with reincarnation?
Okay.
So a lot of hypnotherapists or past life regression therapists actually believe in the reincarnation theory.
So what's your theory? What do you believe in about the regression?
Yeah, well, there's another theory that I disagree with first. Get that out of the way, and that's the genetic information. So experiences are passed down through your genetics, which is another plausible thing. However, where it sort of stands short for me is you could be regressed into a child that died as a child. So how would it pass genetic information.
Okay.
So that's another theory, which is still possible. But the theory that sort of ticks the most boxes for me is the theory from Dr. Bruce Goldberg. And his theory is that your soul is housed within the subconscious, and it uses your subconscious to contact what's called the fifth dimension. And I suppose a lot of people call this fifth dimension the astral plane, or even the Akashic records. So because it's the fifth dimension, it's not got the constraints of time or space, because space is three-dimensional, time is four-dimensional. So the fifth dimension is infinity. It's never-ending, and everything is now. So every experience that's ever happened to anybody is stored in this fifth dimension. And what happens when you do regression is your subconscious communicates with this fifth dimension like a bit like the internet.
Okay.
And by that, you could hypnotise, say, 1,000 people to regress, and they could all tap into the same lives, the same experiences, just like 1,000 people can go on the internet,
Google the same thing,
tap into the same web page. And the thing that also ticks the box with me is there's something called progression, where you can move forward, access future memories, or even future lives. Now, because this fifth dimension is infinite, it's not only got the stuff that's in the past, it's got everything from the future. So everything that will happen, it's already there in this fifth dimension.
So now, whatever stopped me jumping on, I knew you were going to jump in straight away, but I thought I'd let you say what you had to say. So you don't believe, when you do a past life regression, that was my previous life? Say if you put me under and shoot me on a past life regression, so what you've just said is that could be anybody's former life, not mine.
You're just tapping into somebody else's life rather than your own.
In a way, yes. I still believe in reincarnation. It's just with the past life regression, I don't believe. I believe some of them maybe, but you can't get 4 or 5 people hypnotising to be King Henry VIII, because there's one soul.
Is there though?
I've watched a couple of, like most people I think, a couple of programmes on the TV regarding it, and what fascinates me is that sometimes when people have been taken down this past life regression, and then they're told, maybe, let's just say, well, you were a farmer in a previous life and you cared for animals, and then this person will say, I've always wondered why, I've always had that connection with animals, and now I know because it's from a previous life. How would you explain that kind of situation then, if it wasn't?
Basically your subconscious, when you do past life regressions, your subconscious picks like a previous experience that's going to benefit you, that you're going to take some sort of information or understanding from that experience. So it might not necessarily be your own, like your own soul, because for me the fifth dimension is where all the souls go, like a sort of like an ocean of souls. So all the souls are there in the fifth dimension, and when you die, your soul goes back into the fifth dimension. And it's just like the oceans. It's like you're a glass of water and you get poured back in the ocean. So it's like a sort of collective unconscious.
So rather than that past life being the reason why you're interested in animals, you sort of gravitated to that experience because you're interested in animals, and you got that sort of connection.
Yeah.
So it's the other way around.
Because a part of your brain, which is called a reticular activation system, it filters. It's like it acts like a filter, and how that works is, imagine that you're in this life now, and you're thinking of buying a car, and then all of a sudden you see quite a unique car. You think, oh, I've never seen one of them. I'm going to buy one of them, and then all of a sudden, in that next 10 minutes, you see 3 or 4 of them.
Yeah.
And that's because your reticular activation system starts getting activated.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
we haven't had here, isn't it? There was somebody else doing the same thing.
Someone next to you the next day.
Isn't it? Spot on, that, isn't it? We think of something and somebody else is already doing it.
Not necessarily already doing it.
No, well, they do it as well. Sorry.
That's really interesting, Mark. That's really interesting. So, how many would you say of these have you carried out the past life regression?
For me personally,
Sessions.
it's not been that many, because with me being a psychotherapist, I was when I set my business up full time, I was focused more on the corporate side.
Okay.
So I worked a lot with the NHS services and businesses to do like corporate stress management to the health and safety executive management standards. So with regards to past life regressions, I've probably only done about 100 in 25
just
years.
Only
100.
Well,
Only.
considering a lot of people that specialise, they do about 1,000 a month.
And do any of those 100? Do any of them particularly stick out? Do you remember? Was there anything really spectacular for you? Do any of them stand out?
Well, there was a particular time when I was regressed.
Okay.
I was doing a training course with Steve Burgess, actually. And it wasn't a PLR course, but he did past life regression on this course. And there was a small group of us, about 8 of us. And Steve sort of put us all in a past life regression state. And basically, my experience was I was regressed into like late 18th century, maybe early 19th century in London. And the buildings were quite new, and there was loads of cobbled roads. And the strange thing about it was I was coming up to this crossroads, and there was this family opposite, about a couple hundred yards in front of me, facing towards me. And there was a man, a woman, and the woman was pushing a pushchair, and there was a young girl who was about 7 or 8 years old. And the girl acknowledged me and started waving. And I remember thinking, oh, that's a bit weird. Why is she waving at me? And I felt like I knew her. But I just kept going, and I turned off. Anyway, when we come out, when we come out of the regression, one of the women that was sitting opposite me, she said, I went into your past life regression. She says, couldn't you see me waving?
No.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I said, what, you were that young girl? She says, yeah.
That's ace.
But there was
That's amazing.
Yeah, but there was no suggestions by Steve to put us, because everybody had a different, one was in Egypt,
Yeah.
so we all had different regressions.
So can you explain to me how it feels? What kind of state are you in when you're going through this past life regression? Are you still aware of everything? Is it just like a meditation kind of state, or how does it feel when?
Yeah, so obviously, as I've explained about regression, it's just recalling the memory, and you can be fully conscious when you're giving me an answer on what you did today.
Okay.
With past life regression, you do need a trance state. You do need to shut the conscious mind out. Your conscious mind is the logical part of your mind which keeps analysing stuff, so you need to close that, just like a meditation. And so you physically you feel completely relaxed, almost as if you're floating. When you're actually in a past life regression, you're still aware that you're here, your physical body is, but the experience is so sort of, involves all your five senses. It's a bit like, when you put like a virtual reality headset on, and then all of a sudden everything becomes like completely part of you, like so realistic. It's pretty much similar to that.
Okay. But you're always conscious of where you are in your surroundings as well.
In a way, yeah. It's like, another example is, when you're completely engrossed with a movie, you're sort of in there. You still know that you're sitting down on a sofa watching it, or sitting on a chair, but for that moment while you're watching it, you're actually there. Yeah. And it's the same thing with past life regression.
That's great. I want some past life regression. I've decided, Mark.
Past life
I'll book in.
I like how the two of you connected in it.
Yeah.
Hear that they're about meditation, don't you, and stuff like that, but I didn't realise you'd experienced that through past life regression.
Yeah, I've never come across that before with anybody else. And, when I remember the time when it was happening to me, and she said, "Couldn't you see me waving?" And I just got goosebumps, and I still get goosebumps now just recalling that, regressing myself to that memory.
Are there people that you can't put under hypnosis?
No, everybody.
Really?
Yeah. Some people are more difficult, and you sometimes have to reverse the. Yeah,
Definitely.
but like with a highly qualified hypnotherapist,
Anybody,
yeah, even babies and animals, you can hypnotise animals.
Can I bring my dog then?
Yeah,
Bring my dog on that.
but obviously for like children, they'd specialise with children or animals, etc.
So can you? Obviously, somebody would come to see you to get regressed.
Yes.
Can you have more than one in one night? Could you like sort of lie there
what we're talking about?
Take worth his money, that isn't.
in one of your sessions, Mark?
Yeah.
So if I lay there, hang on a minute now.
We're getting down the wrong way, don't you?
I don't know how to word it,
So
Mark.
are you on about, can one person have more than one
In
life, or
No,
can
in
I
one night.
hypnotise a group of people?
Would I have what? Could I have one after another? Oh God, it's getting weird.
So you're saying if Mark regressed you, could you go into a past life and then come out of that one and go into another one, or is it just the one experience
No,
that you have?
You can go from one to another. No issues.
In the same session.
Yeah. You can do 3, 4, 5.
We don't really want that,
Blind.
do you? If you just want to have one come out of it, then you have to have another go after.
It depends what you want from that past life regression session. If you're just like curious, you can go through 3, 4, 5 different lives. You can do all that within an hour or 2 hours, because when you're in hypnosis, there's something called time distortion. So you can live an entire life within about 10 minutes.
I've done it in 5.
Is there a mental kind of advantage to having this done, Mark? Does it help anyone in any way, or is there an advantage to having this regression done?
Well, yeah, you can use it as a therapy, past life regression therapy, and some therapists believe that you need to elicit the root cause of an issue. And sometimes you can't do that in this lifetime. Sometimes you actually go back to different past lives to actually find the root cause or root causes. Because it could be like you've got say like a post-traumatic stress disorder. You could also have like what's known as a complex post-traumatic stress disorder, where there's multiple things that have caused this stress disorder.
But that can be from long back, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, it could be from like 500 years ago.
But if it's not your life that you're tapping into, and it's just
Yeah.
sorry, Nick. Do you know what? So how do you get? Sorry, Mark. So if it's not actually your past life you're tapping into, how can you get to the root of? if it's not your personal life, how can you get to your personal roots of issues that you've got?
Yeah, well, that's the old thing with hypnosis. Hypnosis is it's all about perception, because it's like how perception works. From a neuroscientist point of view, I'm not a neuroscientist, but from what I understand, is that I can point to this bottle of water and we can all agree that that's a bottle of water. We're perceiving that as a bottle of water. But we don't actually see that with our eyes. The eyes just let in light. And what happens is that information goes to the back of your brain, to the occipital lobe. And basically when it gets to there, there's like millions of these neurons that are firing off neurotransmitters, causing synapses. And it's those synapses that determine what we're actually seeing. So we're seeing with the back of our brain. So perception is only 1% reality, and 99% it's made up by the brain. But the thing is if you could see through my brain, not my eyes, my brain, you'd probably see that as something different, because my neurons are different than yours. So that's perception. The perception, we don't perceive reality as reality is. We perceive reality as we are.
Yes, yeah.
And so combine that with reticular activation system, which I said before, which is like a filter of what you actually want or what you need. It's irrelevant on whose past life or whose soul you jump into, because that just gives you the resources of what you need to heal yourself.
Right, okay. I think this is actually most definitely the most intelligent podcast we've ever
I was
done.
just going to say, it's too clever for a podcast.
This is the most intelligent podcast we've ever done, for sure. But how interesting.
Not really. I'm joking. Yeah, it is good. Yeah.
It's really interesting, Mark.
You hear about it, and to have your view on it is nothing like how I looked at it. You know, it's good. It's good to hear a view of somebody who knows what they're talking about. Really.
Well, I wouldn't go that far, but
I was told to say that.
I think it's fascinating, and I for one, I'm sure sometime in the future, what would be great if you came back and actually
I bet you two are on this, aren't you?
Did a regression sort of on the podcast, like not live, but you know what I mean. Yeah. That would be to record one. That would
can I
be
just ask you something?
Yeah.
Mark, you know, dementia, Alzheimer's. There's a part of the brain that's died, or because they've got no memory, have they? So would that sort of, could you do something like that with somebody that has Alzheimer's or dementia?
What, use like hypnosis for dementia? That I don't know. I've not actually come across any hypnosis where.
Could you regress someone with?
Again, I don't think it's ever been done.
No.
I've not come across anything.
They do that themselves.
Yeah, I mean, I know people with dementia, they do go back in time, don't they? And they remember things when they were younger. They can't remember yesterday, but you know, remember things when they were 20, and so they regress sort of naturally in their own brain, don't they? Anyway.
Well, the thing is with regards to memory, how memory works is it's like perception. It's recalling perception. So when you remember something, you're still firing off those neurotransmitters and those synapses. So memory isn't stored like a videotape. So you don't actually recall a memory. You actually reconstruct the memory each time you recall it, if you like. Yeah. If that makes sense. Also, you've got several different parts of your brain that are responsible for memory. And one of the parts is called the amygdala. And the amygdala is responsible for some short-term memory. It's also responsible for your emotions and feelings. So it sort of attaches an emotion to the memory. And memory isn't recalled like chronological. So you might remember something far more vivid that happened 10 years ago rather than yesterday. And that's because the amygdala rules which memory is sort of more in front.
Okay.
So if somebody's got post-traumatic stress disorder, then they're reliving that memory over and over again, and they can't do anything else because the emotion is so powerful. It's like an energy to that memory.
Okay.
Because I've read as well that you've seen it as well, Marie, where alien abductions, they think they've been abducted and said the only way that you'll find out if you have is if you use hypnosis.
Yeah.
Or a regression type thing, and
Because
Or a sore backside.
because I think is it right? Am I right in saying that sometimes when something so traumatic happens to people, sometimes they can just block it out and they literally cannot remember it as if it never happened.
Yeah, your subconscious can repress.
Yeah.
That. If you say you were physically abused or something, sexually abused when you were a child, that might be blocked from your conscious memory, but might come out in other ways. Like you might become obese and unattractive on purpose because your subconscious is trying to sort of make you unappealing.
Okay. So it's a bit scary to think that some of us could be walking around actually, and something may have happened to us in the past that we've just blocked out to the point where we're not aware that it ever happened. But then under hypnosis, that can be brought forward, can't it?
Yeah. But only
So-
do that with a qualified
Sure.
hypnotist.
Yeah.
Not one of these that have got a certificate of completion from Udemy and
No.
you know.
Centre of Excellence.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know a few of those, don't
Yeah.
we? We see them on Facebook.
so if that did happen and you brought something forward that you hadn't got a clue about, what would happen then? Would that stay with you because you've brought it forward?
Well, as a hypnotherapist, we train to deal with that, to desensitize the
Right.
emotion from it. And we can use things like neuro-linguistic program to desensitize the actual memory. So, for instance, somebody, say a soldier that's been Afghan, they've witnessed something completely traumatic and they've got post-traumatic stress disorder like many of them have. You can detach the emotion away from that image so the image doesn't affect them. So they're still seeing that image, but they aren't affected emotionally about it, which doesn't affect things like the immune system and the unconscious processes.
Okay. Because obviously with hypnosis you can do things like, stop smoking, is the sort of a lose weight, sort of change your diet. Or are you in essence sort of changing some connection in the brain? So you're changing maybe an emotion, like you've just had an emotion to something, your attachment to something. Is that how it works? You're sort of changing that in someone's brain?
Yeah, so basically, imagine, I said about perception and memory, there's millions of these little neurons that are creating pathways which are called synapses. Well, imagine those as roadmaps. What we're doing is we're directing a different roadmap.
Okay.
In NLP, one of the sayings is the map is not the territory, which I didn't really understand at first when I was first trained in NLP, but what that basically means is your roadmap is not necessarily what your reality is, or should I say what the reality is. How I said about we perceive reality as we are, not.
Yeah.
That's the same thing. So, there's some subconscious aspect that's causing, like the weight loss or the habit, which is down to some sort of stressful behaviour. And I'm just trying to think of how I can explain it a little better. But yeah, there was going into like the psychiatry cases. people with multiple personality disorders, they've got multiple personalities. And there was one particular case where one of his disorders, he was highly allergic to orange juice. If he took a sip of orange juice, he'd flare up. He wouldn't be able to breathe. He'd need an adrenaline pen straight away. But one of his personalities he was addicted to orange juice. The thing was, is when he was in that personality, he could actually drink gallons of orange juice and it doesn't affect him. But when the danger being is if he flipped from that personality to that personality while he was drinking the orange juice, he'd flare up and need an EpiPen. But if he could drink that orange juice under that, and then a minute or two later he'd then go back into that other personality where he was allergic, it wouldn't affect him.
How could
That's
that even
bizarre.
happen?
And that's how the mind works.
That's
yeah.
bizarre.
Yeah.
So that wasn't a genuine allergic reaction. That was
No,
that was his mind.
Yes, no, it's definitely genuinely allergic reaction.
But how can you be?
Could have killed him.
How can you be allergic to something in the same body and then not be allergic to it?
Because
Because your mind's changed, your body is still the same, surely.
Yeah, but as I mentioned before, 99% of your perception is not actually based on any kind of reality. Only
That's
1%.
bizarre.
Yeah.
The mind, eh?
I have nothing to say.
I've got a question
don't
for you, Mark.
Yeah.
I just want to go back to your memories when you said that your brain reconstructs your memories.
Yeah.
This is I've had like a past life review, and memories have come back that I would never have thought that I'd got. So they're there somewhere. So where do you think they come from? Do you think my brain made them back up, or do you think I accessed the fifth dimension and the memories were actually there? So are all your memories stored in the fifth dimension, do you think?
Yeah, you definitely all stored, even your current life, that's all stored in that, it's like in Akashic records.
Yeah, okay.
And it's the fifth dimension is on the astral plane. I believe it's the fifth, sixth, seventh and eighth dimensions on the astral plane. I'm not 100% sure about that. So it's like things like deja vu and things like that where you think you've been there before. You're possibly accessing that fifth dimension.
Okay.
But there's also something which Dr. Bruce Goldberg talks about called paragression. And paragression is stepping into parallel lives on the third dimension.
So to Button, we were on about this, weren't we?
Yeah.
About an experience I had when I was a child. We were on our way somewhere. I've told this story before, and I knew exactly where to go. Never been there before, and I knew what I was going to find when I was there. So could I have been, at some point, one of my friends?
What?
Parallel.
No, what?
Wait, but you could have.
I'm a bit confused.
You could have accessed your future self, maybe.
Yeah, so that'd be accessing.
Yeah. But if I knew where to go, it wasn't a deja vu. I knew where to go. Well, it was like a deja vu,
Yeah.
wasn't it? But
Yeah.
I knew where to go and I knew what I was going to find before.
Yeah, and
Because on a normal deja vu, you're thinking,
I've
well,
been here before.
I've
That
been
looks
there, I've done
familiar.
that before.
yeah.
But with this, I knew what I was going to
Yeah, but
find.
could like Nick's just said, could you have been tapping into your future self that had already been there
Yeah.
and you were?
Or did I used to be one of my friends and reliving that?
I don't think you used to be one of your friends.
Parallel universe.
Yeah, what parallel universes are based, the basic concept of them. And they've actually recently been proven in the quantum mechanics fields and even the string theories. I think string theorists call them membrane worlds or brain worlds, spelt BRANE. And in the quantum mechanics field, it sort of stems from Schrodinger's cat, the Schrödinger in the 1920s, where the cat was in a box, and Schrödinger said, well, it's alive and dead at the same time. And what that brought about was this hypothesis that there's two parallel worlds. There's a parallel world where the cat's alive, and there's a parallel world where the cat's dead.
Yeah.
And this was hypothesised even more in the 1950s, and then it was proven, I think it was 2016 or some time recently. And what they believe is, although there's not an infinite number of parallel worlds, the number is gigantic. It was like, I think they mentioned 2 to the power of 64 of parallel worlds. And basically how a parallel world works is, say you've got a decision to make, whether you want to go McDonald's or KFC for tea. Both of those create a parallel world. So you've got you, and you've got an almost identical you. Now, if you imagine how many choices you make throughout the day, and how many you've made over 50 years, you've got thousands of trillions of parallel yous. So the chances are, in one of these parallel worlds, you're President of the United States. And one of them you're wealthy beyond your wildest dreams, and another you're poor and living on the streets. It's all because of these decisions, because when you split in two, those two also split into two because they'll have decisions. So it won't be that you went into your friend, it'll be that you went into yourself.
Yeah, that's my problem. Like when I go KFC,
I
I go McDonald's as well. And
You choose both.
I love both.
That rules out the parallel world. I go both.
There'll be a version of you where you're just having salad.
Yeah,
Not this version.
definitely not this version.
And there'll be a parallel world where Nick C is actually a Port Vale fan.
That'll never happen.
Oh.
It'll be the end of the world when that happens.
Used to be Mark's friend, didn't you?
Yeah.
Used to be.
I've got over that he's a Vale fan. It's right.
That's really interesting. But on a serious note, it would be good if we could either, if somebody could be regressed at a future date, obviously, or
Yeah, you did.
Nick
you did,
Taft was...
You did 5 of us, didn't you? Was it 5? There's me, Dave, Jamie,
Cheryl,
yeah.
Victoria.
Oh yeah, it's 5 altogether, all at once, at the same time.
All in one go.
Oh, Lord.
bam, have
Won't go
that.
there again.
I'll have that on my t-shirt. I did 5 in
That's
one
what I
go.
thought you was asking earlier about whether you could have like multiple people.
So you can have several people in the same room, and you can do it you can regress all of the people at the same time.
Yeah. And I think...
So Mark could do me and you at the same time, maybe, when he comes again.
Perfect.
I'm not 100% sure, but I think when I did the group with Nick,
Live.
didn't you go into different ones on the same night as well? Like about 2 or 3?
Yeah.
Yeah. And we did about 3 different nights, I think.
Yeah, we did, yeah.
Yeah, so we did about 8, 9 different lives.
Wow.
Yeah, it was good, that wasn't it?
Yeah.
Enjoyed that. I was a little girl.
What do you mean was?
Oh,
Yeah, that would be great. That would be really interesting. Could you do that, Nick? Would you be interested in being regressed?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah?
Yeah, I'll have you noticed anything. Yeah. How would you go about the going forward? Dan, you mentioned that earlier.
Yes,
Future lives.
basically the same thing.
Same thing.
Yeah, instead of going backwards in a backward memory, you go forward in a forward memory.
That's scary.
But there's no memories there, is there?
On the 5th dimension there is.
yeah, it should be all together.
I'm not sure I'd like going backwards.
I've already done it.
It'd be okay. I'm not sure I'd want to go forwards.
No, I think it'd be okay, because if you get regressed into previous lives, it doesn't really affect you now, does it? So,
No, but if you can progress and you go forward to would it be your future life that you've got now, or would it be future lives, as in once you're gone,
Both.
what you might get?
Yeah, both. So just like regression is you're regressing into this life, but past life regression,
So I could
So-
see myself at
Yeah.
60, 70, 80.
yeah, and you could also
55.
would you worry in case you can't see
That's
yourself?
Yeah. I can't see myself
Nothing
after
there.
Don't go,
57.
don't go anything past 56 and that's it.
Yeah.
And you're
it's
thinking,
like,
this is worth the money, isn't it?
yeah. I think it could be quite... I mean, if I saw myself in 10 years' time and I didn't like what I was seeing, I think that might worry me.
No, 'cause you
and
could do
also
something about
change...
it.
But then
my
you tap
path,
into
yeah.
resources from your parallel lives.
Yeah, because you say people learn instruments and stuff doing it like that, don't they? They can learn different languages by
Yeah,
tapping into...
and that's the thing.
parallel.
There's been some cases where they've regressed into a previous life, regressed into like somebody from Greece or a different country, and they're speaking fluent Greek.
No,
Yeah.
really?
Yeah, I've
but then,
heard
but then once they come out of
Come
it,
out,
they can't.
yeah.
Wow.
But there's also been cases where they've regressed into being a musician
Yeah.
that played a piano or something, and when they've come out of it, they can start playing the piano.
Yeah. Do you think that when people have accidents and stuff like that, and that's a kind of bit, when if someone's had a bash on the head and they come back and they can speak like fluent French or whatever, do you think the bash on the head is kind of locked that their memories in, or as you say that sometimes you can't remember?
Yeah. How can you explain this one without being too complex?
Go for it, Mark.
Go for it.
Go for
If
it.
we don't understand it, someone else might. Who's listening?
Well, all your perception and memories are, say, these neurons firing off different neurotransmitters and whatever. But it's like anaesthetics. Anaesthetics don't numb. You don't actually, say you get anaesthetics in your arm or whatever, you don't actually numb your arm. What you do is they send like white noise to your brain to confuse the actual neurons so they aren't able to communicate with each other.
Okay.
And
So the pain's still there, but you just can't. Your pain receptors aren't
Was-
firing, basically.
was the pain always there though? Because pain is subjective.
Is it
Because-
is that like when when they put that false arm behind the thing
Yeah.
and hit it with an hammer?
Yeah, there's that, but you don't. Just like you don't see with your eyes, you see with the occipital
Yeah.
lobe, which is at the back of your brain. You don't. If you hit your hand, you don't feel the pain in your hand. You feel the pain in your brain. So you can actually confuse the signal and stop the pain
Okay.
by accessing that part of your brain.
Wow.
And there's an actual. It's called Dr. Angel Escudero. He's a Spanish surgeon. And he doesn't use chemical anaesthesia for his surgery patients. He uses just, he calls it noesi therapy or noesiology. Noesis is Greek, it basically means healing by thinking. And what this Dr. Escudero does is he's got videos of him on YouTube where he's sort of chiseling away somebody's bone in the knee, just correcting a bow-legged surgery and having a conversation as if he's doing a rare. And he sews them back up again, and there's zero infection because there's no sort of side effects from any anaesthetics, and they're walking on that leg literally straight after, so there's no recovery time.
I've seen them do it through meditation before when they meditated.
Is that a bit like mind over matter then?
What they call mind over matter,
Yeah.
don't they?
Mind over matter. I suppose you could label it as mind over matter, but it's more to do with the brain processes. So once you know how the brain actually works and what perception is and what reality is, you can sort of start fiddling about with that.
Really, you know, the hypnotherapy, it's a very powerful thing, and it can also be quite a dangerous thing, I'm guessing, if it's not done correctly and it's not done by somebody like yourself that's properly qualified. It can be, because I'm guessing suggestion, you can implant false memories, can you, with hypnotherapy?
Well, when you do,
So
when you, if somebody comes to you with some sort of traumatic issue that's affecting their life, you can implant false memories to replace those memories, or you can just desensitize the existing memories. But as I say, memories aren't sort of like a videotape. The reconstructions, so every time you have a memory, it's rebuilding that memory up.
Okay.
So it's not so. That's why, say if you've got like 12 witnesses to an armed robbery, and the police interrogate those 12 witnesses, they'll all come out with something different, like what the robbers were wearing and stuff like that. So the police know this, so it's not that those 12 witnesses were lying, it's just how their memory was reconstructing.
Okay.
And so they'd swear that that's what they saw in law courts. So what the police have to do then is see what the majority is saying and go with that.
Mm. But in essence, I'm guessing, I'm not saying you would, but in essence, could somebody plant a memory and make someone believe that something's happened to them that never did?
Oh yeah.
Is it that powerful?
Yeah.
That can happen.
Yeah.
So it can be quite a dangerous process
Yeah,
if you don't
but
go down the right routes for.
It's not dangerous if a qualified hypnotherapist, fully qualified.
No.
I don't mean somebody who's done a 20-minute video on
No,
Udemy.
of course, no.
But yeah, there's different things that could be dangerous for somebody who's untrained. One of the things is the abreaction, where it's like a physical manifestation of some sort of stress that's built up in the body. I actually had one client when I first started who had an abreaction, and he was sort of shaking. He was going in like sort of fit. He didn't have epilepsy or anything like that. But I remembered me training. I almost called an ambulance because he was having a full blown fit, and I thought, I'll utilise this and see how it goes. And I started utilising the shaking. I'll just give the suggestion that your subconscious is relaxing every single cell in your body, shaking relaxation into your body. And he started calming down and that. And then at the end of it, he said, "Whoa, that's the most amazing experience of my life." I was there, panicking.
Yeah.
But so that's an abreaction.
You had that. You've witnessed that.
He was there.
You've witnessed that.
Wow.
Yeah.
But and that was when I first started training as a professional hypnotherapist. But with regards to past lives, if the person who's hypnotising doesn't know what they're doing, that person can go into a past life that was really, really traumatic.
Yeah.
Where they were gang raped or burnt at the stake,
Yeah.
and if they don't know how to deal with that,
Yeah,
the
they could
therapist
get a
doesn't
really
know.
bad one, couldn't they?
Yeah.
If they don't know how to deal with that.
And that could manifest
God.
as into a post-traumatic stress disorder in this life.
Yeah.
So, I've got another question for you, Mark.
Yeah.
So when you put your keys down and you think that someone's nicked them, something paranormal's happened.
Stop it now,
And it's
because it
gone.
does happen in my house.
Yeah, but
Stop it.
So Mark will explain to you now that it's must be your brain.
How can it though when
Constructing-
three or four people in the house have seen it? We can't all be doing
Collective
that, can we?
unconscious.
And I know what's the
So what
one
you're
that's
saying when you
getting
put the
told
keys
off,
down,
Yeah,
you've
no,
not
I wasn't
put them
picking
there.
on. I wasn't picking on.
No,
Faye,
but what were you going to say? So when you think
when
you
put
put the keys down,
and
yeah,
you go around looking for them,
Yeah.
and they've disappeared,
yeah,
and then you keep going around, and they're actually where you've looped in the back there.
yeah.
Do you think that's just your brain? Would you say like being lazy or something? It's reconstructing the room, but without your keys.
Yeah. Again, it comes down to your reticular activation system. if you're giving yourself the suggestion, oh, I can't find my keys, can't find my keys, can't find my keys, that's giving you a suggestion that you can't, find, your keys. So they could be right in front of you, you can't see them because your perception can't sort of attach to them keys because you've told yourself, I can't find the keys.
So then when you ask somebody else then and say, can you see my keys there? Because that's where I left them. And they go, no, I can't either. But then you come back in. Then you come back in the room, and then they're there. Yeah. You can't. Surely not.
It's a ghost.
It is. I know it is.
You've just
I
got
know
a
it
ghost.
is.
Yeah. Well, as I say, if it's one person, then fair enough. It could be, as I've mentioned. But yeah, you've also got like paranormal stuff, and not everything.
Poltergeist, isn't it?
Yeah.
Do you know what it is?
Poltergeist.
It's a glitch in the matrix.
Everything's a poltergeist.
Yeah, everything's a poltergeist.
It's very good.
Yeah.
Yes.
So when you're running these courses, Mark?
So can we book you in for come back and do a regression for us then, Mark?
Yeah.
Then
hopefully,
we can
hopefully the next couple of months I'll get sorted.
Yeah, that'd be great. It's been really good to talk to you, Mark. It's very. Thank you for coming. And then the past life regression stuff we've talked about, afterlife and reincarnation and stuff. And what we haven't mentioned is Mark is also quite interested in the paranormal anyway, aren't you, Mark?
Yeah.
So he's a fellow investigator. So that's great. Thank you very much, Mark.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Cheers. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
And any questions you can email us at contact@ghostencounters.org.
Get that out.
It's because I've been quiet.
You haven't said much, have you, tonight?
Normally talking. Yeah. But yeah, or on Facebook, Messenger, or YouTube.
If you've got any questions for Mark or if you want anything else explaining, we can always get in, he's a friend, so we can get in touch and we can ask those questions on your behalf. So thanks for listening.
Cheers. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.